Hey folks, welcome to VerifiedInvesting.com. My name is Gareth Soloway, Chief Market Strategist here, and in today's video, we are going to look at the charts on the market, the S&P, the NASDAQ 100, and some of the major players, and ultimately we're going to go over how I was able to call the top on this market. It's pure technical, as always, no BS. So let's dive right into the charts, taking a look at what the markets are doing today. We are selling off again. Now, listen, let's be fair. The markets will have bounces. Buy the dippers have been ingrained to buy bigger dips, smaller dips even. And so I want you guys to understand the markets aren't going to just collapse down. But yesterday we were down over 2% on the NASDAQ. We were down 1.6% on the S&P. And we've started to come in based on two major charts that I revealed about a week and a half to 2 weeks ago. And this is the ones that I said, guys, this is starting. This is the beginning of a pullback correction in the markets. I'm looking at a 10% to 11% S&P drop, as much as a 15% from the all-time highs on the NASDAQ. All right, so back into the charts. If we look at this, again, S&P, this was yesterday, futures overnight sideways, and then started to sell off this morning. Take a look at this. This is the first chart, guys, and this was a beauty. A parallel channel going back to the COVID low. That's your 2020 March low before we rallied into the bull market high of 2021. We then corrected, and here's your bear market low of 2022. Subsequent lows right on this trend line. And then ultimately, you know what this is? This is your liberation tariff sell-off low before the latest rally up. The reason I was able to say the probabilities of a major market top were likely at hand was because look at the last time we hit this upper parallel. Look at the sell-off that ensued. Look at how it's reacted at the low end of the parallel over and over again, bouncing up. And this tells me that if the low works so well and the high worked so well, the odds would favor a sell-off and correction here. Now, in terms of the S&P, what am I looking at as downside technical support? So the main thing we're going to look for is our former major high here from January of 2025 before the liberation sell-off and the subsequent dump out. That is now going to be technical support. Okay, so as we look at the all-time high and we draw a line down to see how big, that would be an approximate 11% drop on the S&P. Now, do I think at that point we make new all-time highs? No, I actually think we are at a cycle high in the S&P, but I do think we bounce off of there and even maybe come back up like this before eventually going down and tagging it down here. And again, this will obviously move up. It's an ascending trend line. So if we drag it out further in time, it's going to be a little bit higher. But I could easily see this market coming down in mid-2026 to the 5,400 level on the S&P 500, all right? Now, let's flip over to the NASDAQ 100. I've been following a tighter parallel just going back to earlier this year in May. If we look at this, this was kind of your V-bottom recovery, and then we kind of went into this more sideways up move, right? So this was a lot sharper, and then sideways still up, right? But look at how the upper lines, right? So if we look at this, we can see again, this was resistance, all through here, right? And again, even up here. And look at where that was the market top. And look at how the low end has been support, and even here support. But now we've closed below it. Now, this is an unconfirmed breakdown on the NASDAQ 100. What does that mean, folks? It means that basically that we need to see it confirmed today. That was yesterday's price action. Will it confirm today by closing below yesterday's low? If it closes below yesterday's low, it confirms a break of that upsloping parallel channel. And it basically doesn't mean we're going to go straight down. You can bounce a little bit, but ultimately it means that the odds strongly favor further downside on the NASDAQ. What would we be looking at as a target on this? I'm going to use the same metric, that former high right here. See how we went up, we pulled back, we went up, we pulled back and collapsed. That now becomes support. And look at this, guys. If we do a drag down here, let me get my correct tool out. If we do a drag from the all-time high right up here, we are looking at about a 15% correction in the NASDAQ. All right. So that's, again, my general projections. That's assuming we confirm below this parallel channel. We should head back into that level. Now, again, there's been a lot of things that have told me this was at hand. Like, literally, I've been pounding the table for the last 1 to 2 weeks on a market top is imminent, I was saying. People called me crazy. They always call me crazy when I make my bold calls. But I'll show you one more chart that told me when I saw this chart, I said literally, holy cow, this is epic, this discovery. And that chart, folks, is the SMH. Now, the reason why the SMH is important is because this is the semiconductor ETF. And so remember, guys, the semis have basically led the market for the last 2 years. They are essentially the market. I mean, NVIDIA's $5 trillion, Broadcom's $1.6 trillion, Taiwan semis over $1 trillion. I mean, just the semis alone, you have AMD is almost $500 billion. The semis alone are a massive percentage of the stock market now. And again, that means that they basically control the stock market. So if we look at this, this was a discovery I made. I said, okay, let me look at the weekly 200. How far away are we on the weekly 200? And I saw, oh man, this is pretty far. And then I looked back and I said, wait a minute. If you see how high did we get above the 200 moving average on the weekly before price in 2021 collapsed? And the answer was 102%. And then I said, okay, well, how far away were we in 2024 before semiconductors collapsed? Oh my goodness, 102% away from the 200 moving average on the weekly. And then I said, okay, well, based on 3 weeks ago, the high right here, how far away was the semiconductors from the 200 weekly moving average? Oh my goodness. Whoa, 102%. And so you see, remember, moving averages are like home base. Price can get away. Eventually, it must come back to refuel. And what we're seeing here is that 102%, basically a Pierce of 100%, seems to be the maximum that the chart on the semis is able to get away from the 200 MA before it corrects. And it's not a small correction. Let's be fair. Going back to 2021, 45%. 2024, 40%. And so in like-mindedness, in general, maybe we go back here, but I mean, in the very least, you have to think that same sort of thing, right? We look at the high here on the semis. This would be a 40%. This would be a 45% drop on the semis. Now, remember, it's not going to be straight down. Nuances are important because we will have a drop, and then buy the dippers will be like, oh my goodness, wow, what a drop on the semis. We got to all buy, right? And I'll probably play it as a long swing trade, frankly. I'll go long some stocks. And then they'll bounce, and then they'll not make a new high, and then they'll come in and crash lower. And again, the idea is just like in 2024, if we look at this chart, did the semis go straight down? No, they collapsed, then they bounced, pulled back, bounced, and even kind of sideways chopped, fell, and then fell more. So it's not a straight line, but ultimately, I don't mind going on record saying that we are at a cycle top on the semis. We're likely at a cycle top on the S&P 500. And again, folks, this means that the good times are over for the easy, close your eyes, throw a dart at the board, and make money in the markets. It's going to be a stock picker's market going forward. All right. So again, this is important, epic stuff. We're seeing NVIDIA start to break down. Broadcom broke down and confirmed below its trend lines. The semis are cracking. These high flyers like Rigetti. All right, Rigetti Computing down over 50%, almost 60% from its recent highs of just a month and a half ago. The fantasy of up forever is cracking. Now, again, great opportunities, though. In fact, I'm liking Rigetti quite a bit for a technical bounce in the next days or so, but we'll watch and see. Guys, if you like this video, if you found it informative, please share it with friends and family. That's all I ask. If you think they'll like it as well. Other than that, you guys are amazing for tuning in. Thank you so much. I'll keep you posted. Take care.